So whenever a person develops diabetes, I always used to say the disease had started 20 years back. When the person was in childhood, some black patches would have formed in his neck or axilla. So many children have that. We call that as acanthosis nigricans, the black patches. It is the first sign.
So in your practice, what age do you see that usually?
From 5 years.
From 5 years?
From 5 years.
Hello guys, welcome to another session of our podcast, Gut Feeling with Dr. Pal. In this session, I talked with Dr. Arun Kumar. He is one of the prominent YouTubers talking about low-carb diet. He's one of the pioneers in YouTube. He has guided me in multiple levels. And I absolutely love his approach because he talks about how to protect our insulin levels.
It is not the insulin resistance which is the problem. Because of insulin resistance, body is producing too much insulin. That too much insulin is going and damaging every organ. It goes and damages the ovaries. That is called PCOD. The child is not eating properly. From when is the child not eating? From birth. Then how did your child reach 10 kg or 12 kg? I don't know. But the child is not eating at all. So this is the standard complaint they say. Because they force feed. The problem starts from the whenever a child was obese, the cause was endogenous. So endogenous means endocrine, some syndromes, genetic syndromes. But statistically, currently, only 2% of the kids with obesity are actually genetic and endocrine causes. 98% is exogenous. Food, activity. Yeah, I'm fine.
So both of us, we talk a lot about diet.
Yeah.
Okay. And I talk a lot about insulin. Okay, and I say that, in my research as well, and also, based on multiple studies, we know that as long as we protect our insulin, we give rest to the insulin, people are happy. Okay, so my method of time restricted feeding, where you don't eat late at night, like 10 p.m., 11 p.m., according to the circadian rhythm, it doesn't work accordingly. So if you don't eat late at night, insulin is taking rest at night so that it will come back in the next day and with full action, full 100% quality, and then will give you the best effect that you need. You have been advocating low carb diet.
Yeah.
Okay, and can you tell me how low carb is affecting the insulin? From a pathophysiology standpoint.
Yeah. So what you are advocating is we have to the sunrise to sunset. So and based on the circadian rhythm, so hormones, the insulin, the effectiveness will go down after the sunset.
Correct.
So you are advocating to reduce or stop eating after 6 p.m. or 7
p.m. late at night.
Yeah. So what the concept of low carbohydrate diet is that it is not, I won't say it is opposite to the intermittent fasting or anything. It is all complementary.
Complementary, correct.
So generally, even in low carbohydrate diet, we combine intermittent fasting. And in fact, intermittent fasting works best when combined with low carbohydrate.
I see.
So ultimately, it is everything about controlling insulin. So
correct.
That is the one key.
Correct.
So how we can control insulin? Or we should know what are the factors that trigger insulin. So among the diet, the carbohydrates are the most important source of food that actually triggers the insulin to the highest level. Next is protein, but when compared to the carbohydrates, the amount of insulin triggered by the protein intake is pretty much low. And actually fat, it actually triggers insulin to the least possible.
Correct.
So that is the thing people should be aware of. So we always think, okay, whenever, because insulin resistant, obesity, we always associate, okay, fatty items. Fatty items will affect insulin. No. Actually, even less than the protein, fats produce the least insulin spikes inside the body. So this is one thing. And next thing is, so these are the nutritional factors.
Correct.
The next thing is time restricted feeding. So whenever we are eating more frequently, the insulin spikes are maximum. Whenever we consolidate our meals, then again the insulin spikes are minimum. Then again, whenever we are fit and our activity is not sedentary, whenever we are fit and we are doing some cardio or strength training, definitely the insulin sensitivity will be better. Whenever we are sedentary, the insulin sensitivity will be low. So these are the 5 factors: the nutrition, the eating time, and the physical activity. So these are the 3 factors that control the insulin inside the body. So your approach is from one angle. So time restricted feeding acts from one angle. So in another angle, say in the same time restricted diet, if a person decides, as you comically say, if I want to eat 2 plates of biryani between say 12 p.m. and 6 p.m., will it work?
2 plates of biryani
2 plates of biryani
might not work.
Yeah. Why? Even though the insulin function is maximum, so if say he wants to eat, he wants to follow an eating window 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Okay. So 10 a.m. he takes some 4 rotis or 4 chapatis, something like that. Then by lunch or by evening, he wants to take 2 full plate biryani, and it will be loaded with carbohydrates, loaded with calories, so loaded with everything.
Correct.
So will the same intermittent fasting work in this case scenario?
Not that much.
Yeah, not that much, because what we eat during the intermittent fasting, what we eat during the eating window matters. So that is where the carbohydrate restriction comes in. So time is one thing that controls the insulin. Then among the food items, the carbohydrates are the most potent source. So whenever we restrict carbohydrate intake, the insulin spikes are less. So with that, we are able to reverse the diseases associated with insulin malfunctioning or insulin resistance. So what are the diseases associated with insulin resistance? The first thing is obesity, diabetes, that is particularly type 2 diabetes. Then dyslipidemia, that is cholesterol. Generally, the people say cholesterol issue, but actually it is high triglycerides. So because high LDL cholesterol is a different type altogether. Correct. It's a different ball game. It is related to genetic issues. So whenever we mean dyslipidemia or high cholesterol, actually in insulin resistance, it is high triglycerides or low HDL cholesterol. So that is one thing. Then fatty liver. So as we keep repeatedly saying, fatty liver, PCOS in females, and gout, high uric acid. So these are the things related to insulin resistance. So we say insulin resistance, that means insulin is not functioning properly. So because of insulin resistance, what happens inside the body? The pancreas secretes more insulin. So that is hyperinsulinemia. So excess insulin inside the body, because the whatever insulin is, so instead of 10 units, the pancreas secretes 30 units, 40 units, 50 units. To compensate. So whenever we see obese patient, and the sugar levels will be normal. When we check, we check actually HbA1c, that is the glycosylated hemoglobin. It is actually better than fasting and postprandial blood sugar. And we also check the fasting insulin levels. So they will be happy telling that I am obese but sugar levels are normal. But the fasting insulin levels will be 50. That means his pancreas is already overworking 5 times to prevent diabetes. So whenever a person develops diabetes, I always used to say, the disease had started 20 years back. When the person was in childhood, some black patches would have formed in his neck or axilla. So many children have that. We call that as acanthosis nigricans, the black patches. It is the first sign of insulin resistance.
So in your practice, what age do you see that usually?
From 5 years.
From 5 years?
From 5 years. But when I say they come for cough and cold, when I say your child has black patches, the child might develop diabetes. Next time they won't come to me. So that is the problem. So they want only the things they want to know.
At that time.
I have come for cough and cold. You have to give medicine for cough, cold and fever. Why are you telling a small child that he will develop diabetes? Such a bad doctor. So they'll change.
Where do you see those spots? Back of the neck?
Yeah, back of the neck. So it will be like line. And some people, they recognize the problem, but they will keep on applying some creams, natural remedies, thinking that it is some external problem. So probably the dirt is not getting washed away properly. They change the soaps frequently. It is actually whenever the black patches are there in the neck and the axilla. Under the arm. So black patches are there in your child, in a 5-year-old or 6-year-old, 10-year-old. Definitely it's a first sign of insulin resistance. In those children, we check fasting insulin levels. Their sugar levels, everything will be fine, but fasting insulin levels will be high. So that means that child, that 10-year-old child, is going to develop diabetes at 30 years. So when I diagnose a 30-year-old patient with type 2 diabetes, the disease had started 20 years back. So that is the problem. So in low carbohydrate diet, so we will come back to that. In low carbohydrate diet, so as I said, there is hyperinsulinemia. The excess insulin is causing this acanthosis also. It's linked to that. It actually stimulates the melanocytes, the pigment producing cells, then the excess pigmentation. So everything is related to more insulin. So you have to understand one thing. It is not the insulin resistance which is the problem. Because of insulin resistance, body is producing too much insulin. That too much insulin is going and damaging every organ. It goes and damages the ovaries. That is called PCOD. So the excess insulin is converting all the whatever food that we eat and getting converted into fat. That is obesity. So in obesity, what we say, the obese person, if we say, okay, restrict your calories, the person will not be able to do that. Because what happens, if he tries to restrict his calories, already he is insulin resistant.
Correct.
And there are circulating insulin levels are very high. So if the circulating insulin levels are pretty high, and the insulin level is waiting to store fat, because it is not able to act on the muscle cells to convert the glucose into energy, because he is already insulin resistant. So if he is 4 idlis or 4 roti, if in an insulin sensitive person, the whatever glucose is there in the
From
4
the roti.
idlis from the rotis, everything will be getting converted into glucose, and everything will be getting converted into energy.
Correct.
In an insulin resistant person, so probably the 2 idlis will go to the skeletal muscle cells, and 2 idlis will be converted into fat. So even after taking 4 idlis for breakfast, by 11 a.m. his energy source will get over. He will get exhausted. Then he will feel hungry. Then he will take 2 more vadas, then one coffee with sugar. Then again after 1 o'clock he will get hungry. Then again after 4 o'clock he will take a meal, another some carbohydrate meal. Only then he will feel comfortable. Why this craving? Why an insulin sensitive person doesn't have this craving? But whenever the insulin resistance develops, it's a chain reaction. So he keeps on craving for more carbs, and the excess carbs are actually getting converted into energy. It is like, say if there's a pot, we want to take carry a pot full of water. The pot has already a hole in it.
It's just leaking.
Yeah, it is just leaking. So whatever he pours in it, half of it is already it's leaking
Going out.
So that is the problem.
I see.
It is not actually going out. Here in this case,
It's
it's staying inside the
Inside
body,
the body.
and gets converted into fat.
I see.
So if we want to break the chain, so if we reduce carbohydrates, what will happen? If we reduce carbohydrates, then what should we eat? So definitely we have to have something for energy. So many people mistake low carbohydrate diet as some starvation diet. It is not just stopping carbohydrates and taking only vegetables, because we can't get enough macros. We have to have either carbohydrates, proteins or fat for our main energy. So if we reduce carbohydrates, we have to increase the fats, increase the protein. So we call it as LCHF. People say low carb, high fat.
Correct.
I would say LCHF, low carb, healthy fat. When we say high fat, everyone gets a fear. Okay, it's a heart attack. It will get converted. It will clog the arteries. No, it is not healthy fat. So we can choose healthy fat options. It is not high protein. It is adequate protein. So most of the people are not getting the enough protein. So healthy fat, adequate protein, adequate fiber in the form of vegetables, and low carbohydrates. That is the carbohydrates from the millets, grains,
Correct.
any form of carbohydrates. Definitely no to all the refined carbs, processed foods, all the packed food. Definitely they contain tons of carbohydrates.
Correct.
So when you cut down all that, increase the proteins, increase the healthy fat, increase the fiber. Then what happens? The insulin level comes down. So once the insulin level comes down, every problem gets corrected on its own automatically. So every problem means the sugar levels start plummeting down from day one. So person is obese, or even it works even in lean type 2 diabetic. Even the person is lean and type 2 diabetic, he did not reduce weight at all. Just because he has reduced the carbohydrates, the insulin requirement is less. So from day one, his sugars will start falling down. From day one, for a diabetic, we will say reduce our medications into half. For 80% of the type 2 diabetic, with the low carb diet, we will be able to wean off the medications completely. Within a span of 15 days or even 1 month. So that is the thing. Then every other problem. So high triglycerides. So high triglycerides, people think, okay, high fat, we should not eat fat. But actually, people should understand that high triglycerides is due to conversion of the excess glucose into fat by the excess insulin. So when we reduce the carbs, reduce the insulin, there is not much glucose to get converted into triglycerides. Triglycerides will come down.
Correct.
Then the same triglycerides are getting deposited in the liver. Fatty liver comes down. So triglycerides, we have seen triglycerides 700, 800.
Normal is around like 400, right? 300.
Normal is less than 200.
200.
Less than 200. But whenever this insulin resistant people usually have triglycerides in the range of 500, 600, 700. And many even doctors by mistake just give statins. Statins reduce only the cholesterol, LDL cholesterol. They don't reduce the triglycerides at all.
Correct.
That's a separate group of drugs for the fibrates.
Correct.
But still even fibrates do not reduce triglycerides to that much extent.
Correct.
Say if it is 600, it will reduce to 400 or 300.
Fibrate is the drug to lower the triglycerides.
Lower the triglycerides. But in case
similar to statin, fibrate is also a drug. But usually when we think that cholesterol is elevated, everybody is on statins.
That is the problem. So, but if the same person is started on low carb diet, triglycerides will fall. So people will fear that I'm already having enough fat in the blood. So what will happen if I eat more fat? But actually the contrary happens. Because of reducing insulin levels, actually triglycerides will come down from 600 or 700 to less than 200. Fatty liver, we have seen even grade 3 fatty liver reversing to grade 1 or even normal by the end of 6 months or 8 months of low carb diet. And in case of PCOD, it works wonders. Because in PCOD, either obese or lean PCOS, that is the number one. More than 50-60% of infertility nowadays is due to PCOD.
Correct.
In PCOD, again the problem is hyperinsulinemia. Excess insulin acting on ovaries, so more androgens, that is the male hormones instead of female hormones. The hormonal imbalance affects the ovaries, ovulation is affected, so infertility. So again, reducing the carbs. So I've seen people like 10 years, 12 years of infertility who have tried IVF multiple times, IUI 15 times, 20 times, IVF 2 to 3 sittings, but with simple low carb diet, they just get conceived within 4 to 5 months without any other drugs. So to such an extent, it reduces the insulin level. So everything is revolving around the same insulin. Same insulin. So one additional advantage over the time restricted is that in time restricted feeding, for obese people, the effect will be better.
Very good.
It will be very good.
Right.
And it can be even comparable to a low carbohydrate diet.
Right.
But in case of lean people, lean diabetic, lean fatty liver, and lean PCOS, in any other restricted diet, actually the weight loss will occur. But only in low carb diet, without reducing the calories, they can still follow a low carb diet. A 50 kg woman with PCOS can still follow a low carb diet without reducing weight, but she can reverse PCOS and get conceived with that. So that is the beauty.
Wow.
So in every aspect, it works through the revolving around the reducing the levels of insulin.
Right. So I'm just going to summarize for the audience. Yeah. So basically, we have to protect our insulin like our Rajamata.
Yes.
Right. So that insulin, my method of not eating late at night will give rest, but our discussion of low carb will actually make sure that the insulin is not working that much. At the same time, because of insulin resistance, the problem is that you don't have insulin. You have too much of insulin, which is not working properly. And your pancreas is secreting so much. So when you decrease the carb, this insulin will go down, which means that it will start working again, which will decrease your fat. So if you have more fat, the answer is not to decrease the fat. The answer is to decrease the carbs. Super. Now we understood how low carb works. I'm really concerned about our kids. Okay, as an Indian parent, okay, I have the same mentality as every other Indian parent is that anything can happen to me, but if there's something happens to my kid, I will do everything possible to save the kid. Correct? You're compromising my lifestyle. So in your practice, is diabetes happening much earlier than in your previous practice in the last 5 years, 6 years?
Yeah. So previously, when we were doing post-graduation, if a kid has diabetes, it is undoubtedly type 1 diabetes. So it's a different ballgame.
Type 1 is when there is no insulin
at all. It is an autoimmune condition.
Genetic.
No, it is not genetic. It is autoimmune. Autoimmune. So due to autoimmune process, suddenly one fine day, all the islet cells get destroyed.
Correct. It could be genetic. It could be other factors as well.
Yeah.
Autoimmune is whereas there's a triggering of immune system. Your body thinks that your pancreas doesn't belong to you.
Yeah.
And it starts eating up the pancreas.
So that is type 1 diabetes. But sadly, nowadays, in kids with obesity and due to all this rising trend of obesity, we are seeing all features of metabolic syndrome in kids. So I have presented a paper in recent state level pediatric conference.
Okay.
Analyze my 50 obese kids recently who came for pediatric obesity management.
Okay.
So when I just analyzed the results, I could find that around 10% already have pre-diabetes.
What age group?
8 years, 10 years.
8 to 10.
8 to 10 years. Pre-diabetes. The HbA1c is already 5.8, 6. And I have a kid who is 5-year-old. You won't believe, she has HbA1c of 8. But she is type 2 diabetic. She is obese, 40 kg, with full of acanthosis.
Wow.
She is type 2 diabetic at 5 years. No one will believe. I discussed with the endocrinologist. She said, least I have seen is 8 years type 2 diabetic. But she is the first time, even she, endocrinologist seeing a 5-year-old kid with type 2 diabetic.
What did they come to you with?
No, they came for weight loss.
Weight loss.
They were concerned about the same black patches.
Black patches
And weight loss. So when we just routinely we check the sugars and all that, HbA1c was already 8.
But in our culture, being big, it's a sign of prosperity.
Yeah.
Right? So the kid is big, we feel happy. Yeah. So when should the parent be aware that, okay, there is some problem with this weight gain?
Yeah. So apart from the HbA1c, so I just want to continue the other data. Fatty liver, the altered liver enzymes are present in 20 to 25% of the kids already.
Fatty liver.
So altered liver enzymes are around 80, 100, something like that. Then high triglycerides, more than 200, 250, already in around the same 20 to 25%. So even though we say obesity, generally the regular practice is that whenever a child comes with obesity, generally all the doctors check on thyroid levels. They check on thyroid levels and they will say thyroid is normal. Or even when thyroid is abnormal, they will tell that, okay, thyroid is the hypothyroidism is the cause for obesity, and they will write a prescription for thyroxine.
Correct.
But it is actually the vice versa. It is obesity that is causing the high TSH. So actually, whenever a kid has obesity, or whenever so you asked about what is the marker. So marker. So ideally, a pediatrician nowadays, we check growth charts.
Correct.
In growth charts, there are percentile curves. So whenever they fall above 95th centile, either weight for height or BMI for age, there are growth charts. If they fall above 90th or 95th centile, definitely we have to do all the investigation, not just TSH, the HbA1c, the fasting insulin levels. Previously, people were thinking that whenever a child was obese, the cause was endogenous. So endogenous means endocrine, some syndromes, genetic syndromes. But statistically, currently, only 2% of the kids with obesity are actually genetic and endocrine causes. 98% is exogenous, food, activity. So that is why. So I like the aspect you are interacting regularly with the kids.
Kids, correct.
I have seen in your videos, like you go with the kids, you take some selfie and say, what you will do? Okay, we won't eat after 7 p.m. So is this a good food? They will say, no, this is not a good food. That is actually that teaching should start early. So whenever
before they used to show like a con man, like a ghost, and then say now they're saying Dr. Pal is coming, I'll catch him. I will let him catch you. So absolutely, early education starts at young kids. But in your practice, you talked about black patches and growth chart if it is more. So when they come to you, what is the most common dietary mistake that they do in your practice?
So most common dietary mistake, everyone is aware of the obesity.
Yes.
So they even since previously 5 years back, when we were telling like the child is obese, they will change the doctor again. But now they have a little bit realized that okay, obesity is a problem. They have come to the consensus. Okay, obesity is a problem. But the problem lies how to approach that. So simply they think that okay, so we can avoid junk food. It will stop obesity. Or some people think that okay, some parents think that okay, she can eat whatever she wants. But we should, so she should start, the kid should start doing some physical activity or get involved in a sports. And the obesity will come down. So the grandparents, so they say, so active children, when they start playing, whatever they eat, their gut will digest. Their gut will digest even the rock and sand.
And this is the eating age, appa. Why are you restricting now? They can eat whatever they want now, and then they'll figure about diabetes later.
So when I track these kids, whichever kid who is 30 kg by 5 years, they by 10 years they are already 50 or 60 kg. By 13-14 years they have already reached a century. Whether Virat Kohli or other people hit century or not, the children hit century nowadays by 14-15 years.
Wow.
So as the grandparents think,
Nothing is happening.
Nothing is happening. It is actually worsening.
Worsening.
And as I say, 15 years, 16 years, lot of type 2 diabetics. That is alarming. That's alarming even among the pediatrics. So
you talked
never
about
used to see.
So you talked about avoiding junk food, right?
Yeah.
Is that what people do right away, or what?
No, even avoiding junk food, there are two issues. One thing, children are very much attracted to the advertisements. So it is very difficult for them to break those habits. So that is one thing. And they are addicted to the taste, the sugary, high sugar, high salt, the masala and everything. They are very much addicted to the taste. So if I want to give a dietary advice to a kid, I can't say low carb to a kid.
No
I
way.
can't say calorie restriction to a kid. Obviously, she can't follow.
Correct.
She will just scold us. What the doctor is saying? Who is he to reduce my
Reduce
food
my
control?
food control.
And they won't follow. So what I generally use, physical activity in any other form is difficult. So sport is good. So sport they at least enjoy doing. So any other physical activity is difficult for them to follow. So joining a sport is important. So at least they will follow good nutrition at least to perform better in that sport. So that one thing will be there. If they lose games and if they want to become fit, they will at least try to follow some nutrition. And among the nutrition, cutting down the processed food is one angle. Another thing is, I asked to reduce the carbohydrate intake, not like a very low carb, but wherever possible. Say for a breakfast, instead of taking some rotis or idli or something for breakfast, I asked them to take some 40 grams of nuts or some 2 egg. So 2 egg omelette. That is more than enough.
Correct.
So that is more than enough. The child can go happily to school with that. And nowadays, the schools are having multiple break periods. We used to have, when we were doing school days, there used to be one 10 minutes recess period. That is for going to toilet and come back. Then lunch period.
Correct.
Then again one more recess period.
Correct.
Now there is a snack period. Snack period 1, snack period 2. Then lunch period. And children have to compulsorily bring some snacks to them for eating in recess. So every 2 hours they are loading.
Wow.
And some schools they say bring healthy snacks. So what is healthy snacks? So instead of buying in packets, if they prepare in home, that is healthy snacks. So homemade banana chips, homemade potato chips, homemade some laddu or something. It is healthy snacks. So packeted or unhealthy. So these are all healthy snacks according to the parents. So this is how the choices are.
So frequent snacking again comes back to our initial discussion of it spikes up the insulin.
Spikes the insulin frequently.
Frequently.
Yeah. They can eat one small low carbohydrate meal for breakfast. A simple omelette will do.
Correct.
Then no need to take anything after
No snacks at all.
No need to take
snacks.
It's just for drinking water.
Correct.
We survived without snacks. It is only for going to toilet and come back. We survive without snacks. Then lunch will be some basic food, vegetable, something. They can eat whatever lunch they want. Then children after coming back from school, 4 o'clock they are taking another meal 4. Another full carbohydrate meals. We used to take 3 meals.
Correct.
They are having 4th meal. So the 4 o'clock meal after coming back from school will be a high carbohydrate meal. So during the lunch time, they didn't have enough time, so they were not able to eat that much. So 4 o'clock they will come, leisurely sit, watch TV and eat lots of carbohydrates. Then again after 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, one more. So there are 4 meals and 3 to 4 snacks.
Wow.
So you have to consolidate the meals, reduce the frequency. So as you said, they can reduce the eating time, the eating window. They should not eat late. Then as I said, reduce the carbohydrate. So even if they want to take some chapati or roti, instead of taking 3 chapatis or 3 dosas, they can take 1 dosa and 2 egg. Or 1 plate of chicken and 1 chapati. Or 1 bowl of sprouts or some channa with just 1 dosa, something like that. They can reduce the carbs and increase the proteins. Some good amount of paneer and something like that.
So the reason I want to ask you was, all this the kid will not follow, right? So you will tell the parents.
Yeah, I will tell the parents.
What is the first initial response for that? They will be okay?
They will be okay. And I tell another thing, we have to fight the conglomerates who are like they are thinking they have invested crores and they are making actually excellent advertisements to attract these kids. So I have to tell the parents, you have to beat those conglomerates while giving healthy foods. We can't just give one poha or some ragi ball and this is healthy. The kid won't eat. So we have to prepare it in such way. If you want to give some fruits, he won't eat 4 pieces of apple. You make it, you see YouTube. You prepare one fruit custard.
Ah.
You see some nuts, dates, some burfi, something like that. Whatever the child likes. If you want to give vegetables, instead of like a vegetable sabji or poriyal, you give something like a vegetable cutlet, but shallow fried instead of deep fried. We have to do some creative thinking so that the children at the same time, both they like the food, but at the same time they eat healthy food also.
Wow.
So we have to do these modifications in order to make the dietary intervention successful and sustainable. Otherwise, if we just give some sabji or some vegetable fry, they will just throw it away on day one.
So parents are complaining that I don't have time to do all this, right? Because it takes time.
Yeah. They have to do it.
If you love your kid, you need to do it.
You have to do it. So there is no excuse for that.
And then you need to be creative. The way you say.
Creative.
You need to be creative.
Yeah, the plate has to be colorful.
Colorful.
Even for the smaller kids. They say, even 1 year, 1.5-year-old kid, they will say, it's a standard complaint. Without saying that complaint, they won't leave the OPD. They will say, the child is not eating properly. From when is the child not eating? From birth. Then how did your child reach 10 kg or 12 kg? I don't know, but the child is not eating at all. So this is a standard complaint, they say. Because they force feed. The problem starts from the day one. They force feed. They from 8 months, 10 months, they force feed the children. And because of force feeding, they don't like the food. So their mind develops distraction eating. So previously used to say, Nila Pathu Soru.
Correct.
To see the moon. Say some stories. And now it is mobile phone or some tablet. They show some YouTube videos, and whenever child is logged into the screen, they just
feed it. Correct.
Feed it.
Yeah.
That's all. So the children don't know to enjoy the food. They don't know to chew. They don't know to enjoy. So they don't know how their regular traditional food, either in North India or South India, each state will have its own traditional food. They won't know to taste the food. So is it a simple sambar, rice, some roti, or some chutney, horse gram chutney with rice? It's a staple food in India and South India. But none of the children like that. That is the problem.
So for you have kids, okay. Looking at the screen and eating, if you come to US, there'll be only one kid out of 100 kids who's not doing that.
No, it's the same here also.
It's a yes.
Even in hospitals, we do see that. Every child who is admitted, without looking at the screen, they don't eat at all.
But practically speaking, you have your own kids as well. What do you do?
No, it depends.
I'm creating problem in your family.
No, it's always, parenting is a learning. Even for a pediatrician. Okay. So parent is a great learning experience. So my first kid, we did all these mistakes. So we want to make him somehow eat. So distraction eating, showing screen and all that. Now we are trying to reverse this mistake while bringing up the second kid. Now he is sitting in the table and he is eating on its own from first year of age. So some changes. So if we act proactively from day one of the first year of age, instead of forceful eating, we just want the children copy things from us. They actually learn by imitating.
Correct.
So what we do, we eat some sambar, roti or something like that. Some colorful thing is there on our plate. The children would like to have a bite from that plate. Instead, what we do, we present them some bland porridge, and we will be eating some colorful food. You bland porridge, the children won't eat, like to eat, and they will like to eat what we have in our plate. And because the child is not eating that bland porridge, and we do distraction eating, we force feed. So that is a problem. So we can sit in a table or sit on the ground, then let the child have the same food like us. When we eat, the children will copy that.
But I'm going to have, my problem is, my son Arjun, he is very picky eater, right? So I eat broccoli, he doesn't eat broccoli. What is the problem? How do we?
That's why I said we have to do some presentation, something. Say broccoli, how attractive it can be done, or some taste can be altered. Say broccoli with cheese. Cheese is a good thing. So add some masala, some spices. Spices are good, antioxidants. So add some spices, there is no harm. Some spices, some cheese. Instead of adding cheese to the bread and take it as a pizza or sandwich, we can add cheese to some vegetables and take it.
So when a kid says picky eater, that's not true. You can make him eat somehow.
Make him eat. Somehow.
Like by creative ideas.
So whatever I tell all the parents, see, every organism, including an amoeba, has some hunger. How can a highly evolved organism like human being cannot have hunger? So hunger is there because our feeding practice is not right, and the child is having picky eating.
Okay, let me ask you a practical problem. So, how do I know that, okay, when he says no, I always say, no means no, starts right there. That's what I say. So, when they say no, as a parent, I feel like, oh, not only me, everybody, is that, okay, maybe I'm not, when they say no, can we stop?
No, that depends on how is the nutritional status of the child. So, we can discuss with the pediatrician. So when the parent has this concern, most of the parents have this concern.
Correct.
So they come to us, they say this complaint, the child is not eating.
Correct.
So we check the growth charts. If as per the growth charts, if the child weight and height is fine, appropriate, then we don't need to intervene at all. Super. If he says no, leave it.
Leave it.
Leave it. Simple. Leave it. Okay, he's enough. He doesn't need to take lunch. After taking food at 9 a.m., he doesn't need to feel hungry again at 12 p.m. or 12:30 p.m. He can skip the lunch, he can take in the evening after playing. What's there? What lunch was invented during Industrial Revolution. So, because the workers have to take timely meals, they have to take some breaks. And that's why breakfast, lunch and dinner, this timing was there. Otherwise, they can eat a little bit late.
Correct,
what will happen? If instead of 2 p.m., if they eat at 4 p.m., nothing will happen.
So, feed when the kid is hungry. Is that a right thing to do?
Right thing, provided the child is not undernourished. When the child is undernourished also, we say feed when the child is hungry, but we have to make the food calorie dense. And energy dense. He can still eat less frequently.
Let me ask you this. Are you seeing an undernourished kid at all?
We do see occasionally.
Very rare.
So, what we comically used to say, previously while reading, we used to see malnutrition.
Correct.
Now it is only malnutrition. Shopping malnutrition.
Next reel ready. Malnutrition. So that comes to the next question. Okay, added sugar. WHO says 25 grams of sugar per day. That's what I teach my my actors, kid actors in my reel, is that 25 grams of sugar per day. One McFlurry drink is 50 grams.
50 grams.
So I say that, okay, if I say don't go to McDonald's, people will unsubscribe my channel as well. Will not come to your office, unsubscribe. So I say split into half. How many things we can split into half? It's easily more than 25 grams, right? So what do you do in your practice?
So the thing is like, one thing is if the child wants to have some sweet, something sweet, let it be either fruits or dry fruits. They want to have something sweet. Eating sweets is an evolutionarily process. So it is evolutionarily the human being, when thinking from an evolutionary process, we are forced to eat sweet. Whenever we see sweet, our mind is trained to grab that, because our mind is trained such that any sweet thing is not poisonous.
Correct.
That is how our genes are working. So evolutionarily, it is a basic requirement. It is encoded in our genes.
Correct.
So we can't stop the sweet cravings altogether. It is actually imbibed inside our genes. So that is the problem. So we can just change the source. So what are the common sweets we take? Either we can add sugars to any tea, coffee, or some energy drink or whatever.
Correct.
We can add sugars to some milkshakes or something. We can add sugars, ice creams, colas, biscuits, cakes, cookies. These are the items, and sweets.
You're going
sweet
on.
No. These are the added sugars.
Yeah.
Instead of these added sugars, they can take the sweets from the direct source, from the fruits, from the dry fruits. Here is where the creativity kicks in. So the parents have to make something like a fruit custard, some nuts and dry fruits, some laddu or something like that, and it has to be palatable also. So they can, once they start eating it, and maybe if we don't buy these fully high sugary, these all biscuits and cakes, then slowly they will come out of the taste. I've even seen successful parents with too much health consciousness, they are able to restrict.
So if a parent is health conscious, the likelihood of a kid...
Yes, that is where they start. If the parent is not health conscious and the parent themselves are obese or they are having eating issues, they can't advise the child to be health conscious. So that is a problem. So it has to start from the parents.
Only
then the children will learn.
So in your practice, when you, let's say ask your kid as well, okay? Nobody must have asked this question to you, but I'm going to ask. Have you taken your kid to McDonald's?
Yeah.
You have taken.
I've taken.
Thank you for the honest answer.
Yeah.
Because it's very...
So one thing, as I said, it's a peer group. The children love to discuss. Hey, yesterday I went to McDonald's. I had that. So I went to KFC. I had that. So they love to have that. We have to give this little bit enjoyment to the kids. We can't speak from a saint perspective. So maybe, but we can say once in a while. As we frequently say, once in a while is fine. But they should have some limitation. Okay, every first Sunday I will take you to whatever place you want. And he wants to have something from McDonald's or he wants to have something from KFC, he can eat. Sorry, if he wants to have some sweets or something like that, he can eat. But there should be a limit. Say once in a month or something like that. Or every alternate Sundays, one meal.
So I'm not sure how you, the current trend in US, every weekend, there is a birthday party. Every weekend, Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday, and the kid birthday party, kid's sister's birthday party, kid's brother's birthday party. Every 3 days, they are having all this pizza, pasta, Coke, and everything. Okay. So I say that, okay, birthday party, a cake, the cake is only on that birthday for that particular kid. Right? Not for everybody. Is that trend is catching up over here as well?
Yeah, here it is catching up.
Catching up.
So previously, when we used to have birthdays, usually we used to invite some close relatives.
Correct.
Or neighbors.
Neighbors.
Or the two even only close neighbors. Nowadays, people have started arranging grand birthday parties. The Western culture is started
catching up.
Has started to catch up here. So people are inviting all the classmates. Slowly, the thing is picking up.
Picking up. I hope it doesn't pick up. I really hope it doesn't pick up, because that once that culture starts, the peer pressure is going to be very hard for parents to manage. So my son, he says that, Appa, please be ready next weekend, okay? Friday evening, I have this party. Make sure that I pay 7 p.m. because I love the pizza. He also knows what they are.
No, when you said about the peer pressure, I want to add one thing. So you said how to advise the parents. So if the child has already developed this any metabolic syndrome features,
like a little bit big,
and if the investigation shows some fasting insulin, high HbA1c, some issues are there. So if I tell the parents, okay, try to avoid this, be strict, they will say, how can I be strict?
So we have to talk so much about the kids because you are a pediatrician. Okay, but now I want you to wear another hat where you are focusing on the parents. Okay, my demographic is between 25 to 45 years of age, where we are so confused about how to parent a kid and everything. At the same time, we don't know ourselves in terms of how to be healthy, in terms of dietary as well. So I want you to help us out in terms of Indian low-carb diet, correct? Especially for South India, we are of rich carb diet. So when somebody comes in and then says that, hey, no, yes, Dr. Arun, I understand. I see Dr. Pal's videos, your videos. We worship insulin, but I don't know. But we don't know how to reduce my carb. Okay. Where will you start with that, educating that patient?
Okay. So first thing, it works. Which whenever I see those patients, the first thing is they have to come for our advice. So that is one thing. When I give voluntarily advice, even to my closest relatives, they don't bother at all. So I say, you have diabetes, reduce. They just don't bother.
We'll ask you, any more advice? Please give.
So they have to come to us for advice. They have to first prepare their mindset. Okay, I am going to get advice from doctor. Then, second thing is, whenever there is a psychology, it is actually the fear which actually makes us follow something more correctly. Exactly the fear. So
fear of getting something bad.
Yeah, fear of getting something bad. So a person comes for weight loss, but we all know obesity is associated with multiple other issues. So we have to document that, and they have to know that. It is not just to frighten them or anything. So they have to document that. So the person comes for weight loss. I advise them to take a panel of investigations. You do HbA1c, you do lipid profile. They say, I'm healthy, I'm 25. Why do you need to take unnecessary blood investigations? So I just want you to give some diet chart. Diet chart. They just don't want dietary advices on the diet chart. It is just like a medical prescription. Diet chart. This is your diet chart. So ready-made diet chart.
Let me tell this funny thing to me. So I was taking time restricted feeding and everything. So they were asking me, do you have any circadian rhythm chart? I don't know why people are. I mean, I was very surprised. To be honest, we have many problems in US practice as well, but in Indian practice, I see that why people are so fixed on diet chart.
No, they are used to get advice like that. So traditionally, we go to a doctor. They want some prescription, some medicine.
Correct.
They want a prescription. So if a child comes to me, and if I check everything, the child is normal, no need for any medication. They will think, why I have paid so fees to this doctor? Give back. Just for talking 5 minutes, you are charging. You didn't give any medication. Previously, they used to ask, there is no injection, you didn't put any injection. Correct. And when we started practice, luckily we didn't have to go through that trouble. So the injection trouble is not there. Nowadays we say, okay, nothing is there.
I see.
So that mentality is imbibed inside. So they want something, some chart, some 5 pages, 10 pages, some chart. Explaining what they have to eat. So that is one thing. So before that, I order a panel of investigations, as I said, to find out if there are any other components of metabolic syndrome. And I found that even for asymptomatic people, so just they come for weight loss, I found that 40% on investigation, they have prediabetes or diabetes. So they just come for weight loss, just like they go to any other nutritionist or dietitian, they ask the same question also. I went to that nutritionist or dietitian, they didn't advise any investigations. Since you are a doctor, you are advising a lot of blood investigation. You have that connection with that lab, why you are writing a lot of investigation. So I said, okay, obesity is not a simple cosmetic problem. So obesity is more than that. So obesity is metabolic syndrome. You can have pre-diabetes, fatty liver. So you should know that. So once the investigations are done, we will be able to find. So I am surprised, and even they are also surprised to see. They will just come for weight loss. HbA1c will be 9. Otherwise, they would have diagnosed this diabetes some another 4-5 years after that, and after whatever the diabetes has started affecting the organs, after some neuropathy or retinopathy, eyes, and they would have diagnosed it much later. Because there are no symptoms and you have diagnosed it a little bit early, we are able to find that. So, if they find if they see those findings, okay, fatty liver is there, so okay, some pre-diabetes is there, they get some fear.
Motivation as well?
Yeah, some motivation as well. Actually, fear actually helps in motivation. Helps in motivation. If there is no fear, actually, it is not unnecessary fear. Some fear we should have. Correct. So, why people say, if you do some wrong, someone will punish you.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think the God-fearing concept
is
the same thing.
The same here.
Doctor-fearing concept.
Yeah. So, but it has to be in the right manner.
Correct.
And we don't frighten them with some drugs or anything. We just give, anyway we are going to give dietary intervention. We are going to give lifestyle modification. Because by frightening him or her, I am not going to give a truckload of medications.
Correct.
So I am not going to advise him to undergo some complicated procedures. Okay, do this surgery to overcome this, or do this thing. So I am just going to give lifestyle modification. And they are actually okay with that. Okay, they have a sense of understanding. Okay, so I have understood that it is more than obesity. I have more problems, and that is the main thing. So after that, we are able to get good results. And whenever if they are having any issues while practically following the diet, as you said, a South Indian low-carb diet will be entirely different. We are used to eat rice.
Correct.
So if a North Indian will be used to eat wheat,
correct,
in a low-carb diet it will be difficult. So it is actually again based on the severity of the problem. If the person is having severe diabetes, high level of diabetes, HbA1c more than 8, 10, or if the patient is having infertility issues, not able to conceive after 8 years or 10 years of pregnancy, some severe fatty liver grade 3, triglycerides 600, 700. So those are the candidates for a strict low carbohydrate diet. So at the same time, if the patient is having only obesity, then some moderate, some mild changes are there, some pre-diabetes, something. So if they are not that much motivated, they need not be on a very low carbohydrate diet. They can follow a moderately carbohydrate diet.
Can you give me some numbers? Like strict low is what is your practice?
Yeah. So strict low is the total carbohydrate content should be less than per day should be less than 50 or 40 grams per day. So the 40 or 50 grams usually will come only from the vegetables and some nuts. So nuts will have some 10 grams and they will just come here and there. So it is not from the 40 grams is not from the grains or millets, just come from them. So that is actually very low carbohydrate diet, or a keto or paleo, whatever name you want. There are some few differences between these terminologies, but basically they are the same. LCHF, paleo, keto, Atkins, they are all the same almost.
But I thought paleo keto is even more, like less than 20 grams is also there.
No, yeah, keto is less than 20 grams. Keto is less than 20 grams, and keto is more of a more therapeutic diet for more severe problems like epilepsy. So, even whatever the low carb diet I give is a form of ketogenic diet only. The people will have urine ketones positive. That is called nutritional ketosis. So it is whenever we see ketosis, we always fear diabetic ketosis. But whenever a person is taking carbohydrates less than 50 grams or 40 grams, even that is a form of ketogenic diet only, whatever the low carb diet I am telling. So it is called nutritional ketosis because the fat is burning, carbohydrates are not the main source, that cause nutritional ketosis. So it is a form of ketogenic diet only. So the terms can be used interchangeably, but we need not be fanatic on avoid even vegetables. We need not be that fanatic. That is not necessary. That even avoiding even vegetables, that extreme keto is for maybe severe diseases. But for most of the low carb diet, we can manage with 50 to 60 grams per day. This is one thing. Moderately carb means I mean around 100 to 150 grams of carb diet. In such a case, one meal per day can be taken in the form of some grains, preferably whole grains, some millets, in any form, anything is fine. Even if they are not able to take whole grains or millets, I say even if you want to take white rice, you take little bit lesser quantity. Just to fulfill the stomach, you add some proteins and lots of vegetables along with it. So you will have a feeling of satiety. So that is enough. So and other things, we have to advise foods whatever is available locally.
Is there a third category like more than 150? 150, 200 or no?
There is nothing like a third category. That is the regular category.
No, regular is issue. When I was big, I documented what I wrote. I ate 300 grams of carbs per day. Not even, I thought I was eating healthy. See, that is the beauty of it, right?
Yeah.
So then next question is, for a person, even a doctor, I didn't know how much amount of grams of carb is there in a particular thing. So you are giving a diet chart. But if you, what is the easier way to say, okay, there's a biryani. How much amount of grams of carbs in the biryani? How do you educate?
The thing is, in low carb diet, obviously, the concepts are simple. We say avoid grains.
Avoid grains.
Avoid grains at all. In a strict low carb diet. I am not talking about the moderately carb diet. I will speak from a strict low carb diet or a keto diet, something like that.
No, talk about the moderate. That's a more common thing.
Okay.
Keto is not
sustainable. Okay, fine. So, no, still there are people who have been following for severe problems. Like my few diabetic patients are there, HbA1c of 13. They have,
aggressive.
Yeah, a severe diabetic. They are on keto for the past 7 or 8 years. Many people fear keto, paleo, low carb diet. Your kidneys will get injured. You will get heart attack. Nothing like that. So it is just if we follow the macros and everything, and if it is sustainable, based on the problem, severity of the problem the person has. If the problem is not severe, they may not be that much motivated, and they need not be. If the only problem is obesity, they can follow a strict low carb diet for say 6 to 8 months. Then they can come back for a moderate diet. So moderate carb diet, balanced diet, that is more than enough. So once the moderate carb with some time restriction, then my concept and your concept, everything will merge. So that is one. During the initial strict phase and for severe problems, low carb. Then we can come back to a moderate carb diet. And for people with milder issues, they can start from the moderate carb itself. So for your, answering your question, so you said how to measure a biryani or something like that. So what I would say is, in the moderate carb diet, if the food contains any grains or millets, simply any grains, maybe rice, oats, wheat, whatever grains, or barley, quinoa. Quinoa is not exactly a cereal; it's some different category, but still, or any millets, ragi or something, jowar. I would say not more than 1 meal per day. Simple thing, not more than 1 meal per day. And I specify the quantity. Whatever you want, you eat. Specify the quantity. Just like you say in your videos, like half portion of biryani, something like that. So it will roughly translate to say maybe 200 250 grams of rice, half portion.
Correct.
Same, the same quantity. I say 200 250 grams. Or if you want to count, say roti, chapati, I would say 2 to 3 numbers. Simple. They can just count. They need not count the calories. So 2 rotis or 3 rotis based on the size.
Arun Kumar roti. Bigger than your face. So roti, yeah. So roti and
Something
rice.
like that. Yeah, something like that. And rest of the meals, I advise them to take it along with lots of vegetables. Vegetables for the fiber. Otherwise, the 200 grams of rice or that will not be enough. Either with proteins or with vegetables. In either form, either that thing. So the other meals can be like simple nuts. They need not be costlier nuts like almonds, pistachios, and walnuts. They can be simple nuts like groundnuts. They're cheaper options, equally good. Lots of monounsaturated fatty acids. They can have coconut if they are in a southern part of India where coconut is available. It's a very good source of healthy fats.
Correct.
If they eat non-vegetarian items, they can add eggs.
Correct.
Non-vegetarian items, any type of meat they can have, or paneer they can have. In moderately carb diet, we advise them to take pulses or even this soya based products and all those. So these are the equally mushroom they can take. So among these, whichever suits their liking, they can mix it up and they can take. So
one meal you said, one meal is grain based.
Yeah, grain based.
So that includes roti as well. You cannot have roti in the morning and then rice.
Whatever be it, one meal in a moderate diet. In a strict diet, even that is not allowed.
So even in moderate diets, only one meal a day. Right?
1 meal a day.
So let me have an argument. Okay, so when I grew up, so it's like dosa, idli in the morning. That's a grain based. Will that come under grain based or not?
Yes.
Yes. And afternoon, I have 3 cups of rice, right? One serving is sambar, second is rasam, third is curd. And then dinner would be 2 rotis. So in your thing, this is not allowed, right? Only one.
Yeah, only. Yeah.
So what do we do for the other 2?
Take these proteins and nuts. Yeah.
So the concept of having roti, rice every meal should change a little bit. Either we can approach it in another way. So for all the 3 meals, we can take little bit carbs and good amount of healthy fats, fiber and proteins. That can be done. Or that might be practically difficult. So if we say 1 meal per day, that is easier to follow. Correct.
They will, okay, this is the meal.
Correct.
And this is the quantity. It's simple to follow. Yeah. Rather than they can't limit with, okay, we will stop with 1 chapati. That is not possible.
Especially when there's ghee on the top of it.
Yeah.
So when you implement this, hunger, it's a big thing. And you have put a video on how to control your appetite and hunger as well. So when you start this, you are going to feel hungry. Correct? What is your tips and tricks for the patients?
No. This is where the difference lies in. A low carb diet is not equivalent to a low calorie diet. In low calorie diet, the problem is we are eating less. We are actually starving.
Correct.
Basically, for any weight loss, there is some starvation has to be there. But what we eat, that matters. Say instead of 4 rotis, if I eat 2 rotis by calculating calories, I am actually a little bit starving. The body has to take the energy from the fat sources. But as I said already, the circulating insulin levels are high. When circulating insulin levels are high, the body cannot utilize the fat source. It is like, say we are having some 10 crore in our bank account as fixed deposit, but we want to have 1 tea. We won't be able to utilize that money. So many people will ask that question. I have people with like 130 kg, 140 kg. So they will ask, doctor, if I don't eat idli, will I not feel hungry? They will ask the same question. I will say, you have 60 kg fat. 1 kg fat is 7,700 calories. So that means you have almost like 4 lakh calories. So 4 lakh calories is enough to feed you for 200 days. So even 200 days you can survive with only water and electrolytes. Technically, with medically monitored. Body will take care of it because he has 4 lakh calories already. So we need only 2,000 calories maybe maximum per day. Body will take it. No, technically speaking, might have suffer some micronutrient, that is there, but technically that is right. But why he is feeling hungry? Because he doesn't have the key to open his locker or fixed deposit. So the insulin is the key again. So we have to reduce the insulin. only then,
Key to open the insulin box.
yeah,
Which is there but not working.
yeah, only then, only if we cut down the carbs, what will happen is, after an initial hiccup for say 1 week, once the insulin levels start coming down, once the fat starts burning, the appetite actually gets totally suppressed. Once the fat starts burning, our fixed deposit is getting converted into current account. So he has 10 crores in current account. He can eat whatever he want. So that is the issue. So low carb diet is not equivalent to a low calorie diet. So here the hunger is not an issue at all. So people will be able to control their appetite very good. They need not be like consciously, psychologically suppress their hunger. The food itself will take care of it. So that is the concept. If he eats say 300 grams of meat, or 200 grams of paneer, or 100 grams of nuts, he won't feel hunger for the next 6 to 8 hours. Many of my patients, if I eat 300 grams of meat for dinner, or say, they will say, I am feeling hungry only by next day lunch. They don't even want to take the breakfast on the next day. So that much, protein keeps you full. So that is the key here.
I see.
So hunger.
But tips to control hunger is, let's say initially, the thought process of not eating carbs will create the hunger is we should take it out.
Yeah.
Okay. And then increase that with protein and fiber. Water, how do you recommend with this?
As much as possible. So water is very important. So whenever they say, I am feeling hungry, I will say, it is not actually hunger, it is actually thirst. So we advise them to take lots of water. That is more than enough. Or some soups, or some black tea, or black coffee without sugar, something like that. Some soups. That is more than enough.
So in your thing, what I'm understanding is, okay, so let's say you have a rice-based meal for dinner.
Yeah.
Okay. Because many people, dinner is the biggest meal.
But generally, in a moderate carb diet, I don't advise a carb-based meal for dinner. The same concept. So we don't want, so we don't want our insulin to get stimulated at night time. If at all you want to take carbs, let it have a breakfast or lunch, but not for dinner. In lunch, for dinner, not eating anything as per your concept is equivalent to eating a protein meal. It again doesn't stimulate the insulin at all. So either taking only vegetables, or taking only a healthy fat, some nuts, or taking only a protein meal, a low carb protein meal, is actually equivalent to not taking anything at all, technically. And there are even studies, like even we always say night eating creates issues. But people have studied by seeing whether a protein meal, when taken at night, whether it will be beneficial. Actually, they have found that they actually help build the lean muscle mass. They actually help control the hunger. They actually help lose weight.
So most common problem the patient comes to me is that, hey, yes, doctor, fatty liver, I am not going to eat late at night. Let me finish my dinner at 8 p.m. But at 12 o'clock, I'm having hunger. So the concept what you're saying is that
protein.
Protein. Your protein is very low. Protein and fiber, if you have adequate amount, 20 grams and 10 grams of fiber at dinner, then that will sustain throughout you.
Yeah.
The problem is, I'm talking practically, where even in US and even in India as well, where as a family, they just meet only for dinner. And I think if we need to choose one carb meal, I think it's going to be dinner for many people. Okay. So when they're going to hospital or any office or something, for lunch wise, so in your concept, only protein with, if you're vegetarian, soya, tofu or something like that.
Paneer.
Non-vegetarian meat and
meat
vegetables.
Or egg.
Egg or vegetables.
Wow.
This is you're going to get a lot of questions after this podcast. Because in our mind, we're always thinking that, okay, there should be rice, there should be roti, you should get all these questions, correct?
Yeah. So I've been answering all this for the past 10 years. So we have the answers already ready-made.
So when you, in your practice, people are able to accommodate, adopt this practice. How long does it take?
So
it differs.
No, it differs based on the problem and the motivation. So I won't say everyone is successful, but whoever is motivated are able to reverse lots of issues. Lots of issues like infertility, fatty liver. There are lots of people. They are very happy.
The next question is that, okay, will you, in this method, okay, we talk about this. Vegetarian is an issue when they talk to me. I said increase the protein. They were like, as a vegetarian, I'm getting only 30 grams. In your practice, what do you tell vegetarian for increasing protein?
The same things. Paneer, mushroom, soya based items, and even the groundnuts. They contain 25 grams of proteins per 100 grams. So, and we can manage with that. And if they are able to take little bit eggs, that is fine still. If they are able to take, yeah.
The next question is on the soy. People should have asked you so much about soy.
Yeah.
Correct? So, what is your take on that?
No, soy actually contains some phytoestrogens. So, plant estrogens. So, the estrogen is as we know, it's a female hormone. So, it has some chemicals that mimic the female hormones. But many times people were thinking that it contains a lot of phytoestrogens that can interfere with the reproductive system in our body. But studies have shown that the amount of the phytoestrogens contained in soy in the quantity that we take for food is actually a little bit low, and it is not that much enough to cause a hormonal disruption in the body. So, if you are non-vegetarian, okay, you have better alternatives. If you are a vegetarian, you can definitely take soy. It's not an issue at all. And either we want or don't want, I will tell one secret. Most of the costly infant formulas, infant say growth powders, I won't say the names, most of the costly, you have to see the ingredients. The protein is from soy. Soy is the readily available protein source for all preparing all the formulas. So, if they want to add some protein to something, they will add soy protein. They can read this, they can start reading. They give a costly health drink that costs say 1,000 rupees for 500 grams of tin. Then they will see it contains soy powder. So, it is not that much harmful as we believe.
I'm glad that you answered the question the same way that I've done a video as well on soy. It was a risky question. I was thinking you must have, if you say the other way around, what will people do on my video? And thankfully, you said the exact same thing. So, the one thing I also want to add is the flavonoids.
Yeah.
Right? So, I learned in my research is that where the soy plant is being grown plays a role in the content of the flavonoids. In US, it's 10 times more. Because of the moderate climate. In India, it's very low. The thyroxine absorption, yes, flavonoids impair thyroxine absorption a little bit. But the amount of flavonoids in India is significantly low. You don't have to even worry about it. That's what I said as well. So we were talking about the soybean as a protein. So the next source is fats. Okay, and in this fats, I want to ask your input on palm oil. Okay. Everybody is telling me that you should put a video on palm oil. All this what do they say, the refined oils are not good for you. Sunflower, safflower. If you look at all the US health influencers, they go to the grocery store and they show the sunflower oil and then they basically burn it. Technically, right in the store. I also do that, but at a very mild level. So, is it really that bad, or what is your take on it?
No. So, thing is, even I am seeing of late, I am seeing lots of food influencers, even from India. They classify a thing like it contains maida. It is very dangerous. It contains palm oil. It is very dangerous. So, let's clarify a few concepts. We have to understand what it is. Actually, it is a palm oil based from the palm fruit.
Correct.
So, either the pulpy portion or the seed can be used for preparing the oil. So, unlike other oil seeds, even the fruit contains lot of fat. So, and the seed alone contains lot of fat. So, generally the palm oil is prepared from the pulpy portion. So, that palm concentrate, we will have the unrefined palm oil.
Correct.
Unrefined palm oil is actually approximately 50% saturated fat, 40 to 50% saturated fat, which is mainly palmitic acid, and another 40 to 45% monounsaturated fat. That is the same monounsaturated fat we say healthy olive oil, healthy groundnut oil.
Coconut oil.
Yeah, coconut oil is saturated fat. Yeah. So, this olive oil, everyone is saying olive oil is heart healthy. Olive oil, extra virgin olive oils contain 60 to 70% of monounsaturated fat. Palm oil contains the same oleic acid, that is the monounsaturated fat 45%. And that unrefined palm oil will be refined into two processes. It gets converted into palm olein and another fractionated. So actually what we get is not palm oil. So it is actually palm olein. That means it is not a byproduct. They are dividing it so that the normal crude palm oil actually solidifies at room temperature, just like coconut oil. So they want to add more of monounsaturated fat. That is the so-called healthy fat in this fraction. That is called palm olein. Palm olein. So the actually whatever oil we use is not palm oil. It is actually palm olein. So there is another refinate that contains more of that saturated compound. That is used for making soaps, for beauty products and all that. And palm oil can be prepared from the kernel also, the pure kernel also. That is one thing is that we do not get in India at all. That is available only in countries like Malaysia, and it is actually equivalent to coconut oil, 80 to 90% of saturated fats. But even here two things. So here if palm oil, say people say it is unhealthy, we have to answer two things, whether it is due to the composition. So as I said, monounsaturated fats, actually palm olein, it has almost same concentration like groundnut oil, same concentration like a sesame oil, gingerly oil, a little bit lesser monounsaturated fats than and the olive oil. So it's a good thing. Saturated fats, it has little bit more saturated fat than these other oils, but less saturated fat than coconut oil. But what research has found that even the fear of saturated fat should go away. People have found that most of the studies on saturated fat that were found to cause more atherosclerotic heart disease were based on saturated fat that are actually hydrogenated fats, like vanaspati. So all the hydrogenated oils, they are artificial saturated fat. They are not true saturated fat. They are artificially, the oils are getting hydrogenated. The unsaturated fats are getting hydrogenated to become saturated fat chemically. So most of the studies in US in those times, 1980s, were done with these artificially vanaspati, hydrogenated fats. So most of the studies gave the conclusion that saturated fats are heart unhealthy. But like natural products like coconut oil, they have other compounds like medium chain triglycerides, and they have like lauric acid. So they have other benefits. It is not just, we should not view it just like saturated fat is bad. Palm oil saturated fat is 40%, coconut oil saturated fat is 92%. Oh, it is that much heart unhealthy. No, it contains other compounds. Even though it raises LDL cholesterol to little bit higher, it actually improves the HDL cholesterol also, which is good cholesterol. It actually decreases the triglyceride. So it has multiple effects. It has, say, if a lipid profile, if you have 3 parameters, it does good in 2 parameters. In one parameter, it has little bit slightly raises the LDL. So overall, it is actually good package. Even the coconut oil. So that thing we want to learn. So even coconut oil has 92% saturated fat. Palm oil has only, that the palm olein has only 40% saturated fat. So that shouldn't be an issue at all.
But nowadays people are willing to adopt coconut oil because they know that okay, it is minimal quantities, it's good for you.
Yeah.
But this palm oil concept, they talk about this omega-3, omega-6.
No, actually, this omega-3, omega-6 is the problem with the oils containing more polyunsaturated fatty acids. The sunflower oil, all these contain lots of omega-6 type of polyunsaturated fatty acids, which are actually pro-inflammatory. But say like avocado oil or oil prepared from say walnuts, they contain more omega-3 fatty acids. So these are actually little bit healthier versions. But palm oil contains only 10% polyunsaturated fatty acids. Even in that category, it has only 40% saturated fat. Palm olein contains 45 to 50% monounsaturated fat. If monounsaturated fat is healthy, there is no doubt among the medical field. It is very clear. Fatty acid is good. PUFA, some here and there. Saturated fat, some dilemma is there.
So we'll just summarize that for audience. So monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, and
Saturated.
Mono is clear. It's
Clear.
good for you. Poly is still good, but not as good as mono. Unsaturated fat is the debate right now.
Yeah.
Correct.
Even poly, there are people are saying, studies have found that even though when using polyunsaturated fat, the cholesterol levels comes down, but actually mortality rate goes up. So that is the problem. So the famous studies are there, like Sydney Heart Health Study. then Framingham heart study. So they have in recent BMJ, British Medical Journal, they have actually revisited and reanalyzed the reports. They found that the research report stopped with whether this oil usage reducing cholesterol or not. But they actually, compared to the mortality, actually reduces cholesterol levels, these refined oils, polyunsaturated like sunflower oils, but actually increases the mortality rate. So, operation success, patient died. So, that is the problem with PUFA. MUFA, monounsaturated, no problem. So, regarding palmoline, it is not that much like a villainous substance like people think. Just because in 90s palm oil was mainly imported, even now palm oil is mainly imported, the problem is people associated with it as a cheaper product, substandard product, because that was the case previously. And from a farmer's point of view, from a political point of view, palm oil, because of importing lots of palm oil and soybean oil, we have from before 1980s, before 1970s, India was exporting edible oil. Then by 1980s, India was self-sufficient. Now India is the #1 importer of edible oil. So because of using these palm oils and other oils, our farmers are not growing enough groundnut, coconut, sesame oils, the traditional mustard oils inside our country. So it's politically it's a problem. But scientifically, to a person, palm oil is not that much dangerous as people believe. But politically, definitely it has replaced the indigenous oils. From a farmer's point of view, definitely it's a problem. So it's a bigger question to be answered by multiple stakeholders.
What is the deal with the seed oils? US health influencers are just going like berserk against seed oils. So what is your take on that?
Seed oils, what do you mean, like sunflower?
Sunflower, safflower is one of the part of
Yeah.
it. Right? So the same thing is omega-6 is being like pro-inflammatory.
Yeah, most of the seed oils have polyunsaturated fatty acids and most of them contain high omega-6 except flaxseed oil. Only flaxseed contains more omega-3. All other seed oils have high omega-6. So as the same study I told, it decreases cholesterol but increases other mortality and other issues.
Is the amount matters or
and ultimately, I will tell one thing. Whatever oil you use little bit little. If you want to eat healthy fat, eat as a whole food. People, even in low carb diet, people ask me, which oil to use? I'll say, you are eating nuts. Nuts is a wholesome package for fat. You are eating egg, it's a wholesome package. You are eating meat, paneer, it's a wholesome package. Why do you want to add too much oil already on top of that? So, whatever oil you want to have, eat little bit less. That 2 or 3 teaspoons, whether it is coming from palm oil or whatever, it is not going to make any difference.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. So many patients ask me the same thing that which oil is good. I said, how much oil do you use? And they said, for dosa or for idli. Have you seen? I don't know how they make dosas in your house. In my house, we don't know whether dosa is in the oil or oil is in the dosa. Crispy dosa. 1 spoon of oil is 120 calories. Right? For murgal, which is a crispy dosa, we easily put 3 spoons. Okay, 360 calories for 1 dosa. Okay, and when we go to restaurant, what we say, we want ghee roast. Right. So one other thing that we can do is we can bring in fat from multiple sources. Right.
Yeah.
Ghee, olive oil, butter.
Yeah.
What about ghee?
Ghee is equally good. Even though it contains more saturated fat, just like coconut oil, it's the same thing. So the saturated fats which were demonized, like coconut oil, ghee, and the lard. Lard. I used in Indian people may not know. Lard. Lard is used. These are actually not that much harmful, even though they rise LDL to a little bit higher extent. Maybe these can be avoided in people with very high LDL cholesterol levels. A subset of people, say 10%, might have a genetic issue where their LDL cholesterol is very high, 180, 190. Those subset of people can avoid that. Otherwise, not necessary. Everyone else can take. Yeah, take it.
Super. Beautiful. Wonderful conversation. I just don't want this to stop at all. But I wanted to introduce to my audience about your book.
Okay.
So it says Arogyam or plate.
Yeah.
Okay, which means that health is in a
plate.
Okay. So this book is in Tamil, but English version is coming up as well. I want you to give a concise version of what my audience can see from this book.
Yeah. So right now, Tamil speaking or the people who can read Tamil can buy this. It's available on Amazon, all that. So it was mainly it's an article series on nutrition written for a Tamil magazine, famous Tamil magazine called Ananda Vigadan. So the Tamil viewers must be knowing it. So it was a 60-part series. The main thing was to discuss nutrition not from a regular macro, micro and all that, from the politics. If it is oil, why this oil came, how this, from the evolutionary point of view. If you want to take about rice or millets, how we started eating rice. If it is sugar, how did sugar entered our practice in the country. If it is salt, say everything from the politics to the science and the practical and the clinical aspects. Not just it contains this much calories, it contains this much carbohydrate. I don't want to give a tablet. That is already there in Google. That is already there in lots of apps. Only like, what does it mean to you? So whether you can take or not take, or in which conditions you should avoid, or what are the problems. Discuss the controversies. Say like soya, good or bad. Egg, how many eggs you can take, whether yolk is dangerous or not. Rice, how much you can take, or millet safety. Or like whether for if you are having a medical problem, say like hypothyroidism, whether avoiding cabbage is really useful or not. From both the food perspective, children how they can eat, women how they can eat, old age. So multiple aspects, like 60-part series, and it has been published as a book.
Beautiful.
So soon I will try to come out with an English version soon.
Bring up in Spanish as well.
Yeah.
All languages. So,
Okay.
People, please look up Arogyam or Plate. It's going to be in English version as well. We'll put that link in the description. But
Okay.
I really want to tell you that the amount of work that you're putting in, I'm hoping that everybody appreciates this, because this is what every doctor should talk to a patient who walks into your office.
Yes.
Correct? Unfortunately, we don't have this much amount of time to spend with one particular patient. So that's the goal of this podcast, is that your knowledge and expertise will just translate all over. So you don't get that many patients.
So you have already obtained the diet chart from me, the secret. What to eat for morning, what to eat for lunch, what to eat for dinner.
I got diet chart from Dr. Arun for you. Okay. But anyways, thank you so much for that. And it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks
for inviting. I didn't notice the time at all, and it was wonderful having a lively conversation with you.
Super. Something tells me that this is not the first time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we will meet soon.
Super. Thank you.
Thank you.